After everyone has spoken, we will vote for a new board member. So, do we have any speakers, Lisa? Oh, yeah, we do have speakers. We have 2 speakers. Kalila Merrill.
I'll pull her in.
Okay. Hi, Kalila.
Hi, sorry, it took a minute to get connected there.
That's okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I'm Kalila Merrill. I have 2 daughters in the district, and I wanted to just speak a little bit about the interviewing and selection of a new school board member today. I was recently made aware of some issues on our campuses. Sorry, I'm so nervous to talk, so I apologize. That have involved issues of bigotry, hatred, and cruelty directed at towards students and staff who come from diverse communities and the people who support those students and staff. These recent incidents help to underscore the necessity and importance of selecting a school board member who is fully committed to ensuring that we work proactively on issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity, rather than shying away from these difficult discussions. There will always be a group of people who are loud and resistant to diversity and change, but those aren't the voices that we should be amplifying. As you are all aware, it's our duty to protect all students who attend our campuses, no matter what their diverse population is that they come from. I hope you'll select a candidate who doesn't view inclusion, diversity, or equity as some sort of special interest issue that shouldn't be addressed in our schools. Having these discussions at school is exactly where they should be addressed, especially since some students aren't able to have those discussions in their own homes. Upon reviewing the applications of some of the board candidates, I noted that 3 of them stood out in their stances on these types of topics. They are Donald Wisman, Crystal Grosvenor, and Darren Ellers. Of the 3, I know one personally, that's Crystal Grosvenor, from our work together on the Riverview PTSA board, the JEDI committee, and the Mustang mentorship program. I'm inspired by the way that Crystal can take a problem, figure out all the needs and perspectives that should be addressed, and then find effective solutions to those problems that help to enhance our school communities. She has shown a commitment to this, not just in regards to her own children and their campuses, but also across our district. This speaks to Crystal's character and dedication as a champion advocate for all of our students, not just her own. I also admire the way in which she's willing to tackle difficult subjects, even some that may be outside her own comfort zone, in search of solutions that benefit as many people as possible. Throughout our time working together, Crystal has always been excellent at being an open and effective communicator with all stakeholders. She's a true supporter of amplifying the voices of our students, teachers, and staff as authentically as possible. And all of these are qualities that I think would make a great addition to the current board. In closing, I would just like to say that I wouldn't be true to who I am if I didn't mention that our next school board member should also be someone who's dedicated to the safety and health of our students and staff on our campuses. Knowing that the overwhelming majority of the students in our district will not be eligible to be fully vaccinated when school starts in the fall, I want to ensure that wearing masks indoors is a requirement until all students and staff who are able and willing to get vaccinated are given that opportunity. My hope is that the new board member will be someone who realizes that education can still happen while students and staff are exercising safety precautions, including masks and distancing, to make sure our schools remain free from COVID outbreaks. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Crystal. I see that I skipped over the flag salute, so we'll get the one more speaker and then we'll do the flag salute. Liz Rogers.
Hi.
Hi, Liz.
Hi. So my name is Liz. Actually, I should start by saying I agree with everything the last speaker said. That was all really well put. So I'm Liz. I'm the mother of a first grader at Winter Gardens. I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher, and one of the things that I currently research is the body's response to COVID-19. During this past really difficult year, I very much appreciated how the board kept things safer by following public health guidelines. This included making sure that we offered distance learning, that we required masks, and that we used hybrid learning as a way to have smaller class sizes during the worst parts of the pandemic. It seemed to me that Dr. Taylor especially was a crucial part of this response. She was an advocate for following the public health guidance and working for the best interests of the health of the students, and also the teachers, the staff, their families, and the rest of the community. So in the new board member, I would like for us to choose someone who will have a similar mindset to Dr. Taylor. In general, in a board member, I'm looking for someone who has the best interest of all the students in mind and who follows guidance from experts, especially public health experts. This also includes being receptive to the concerns of the teachers in the district, who are also experts and have one of the best vantage points for understanding what works for the kids. I also want to make sure that the board is promoting programs to ensure equity in our community and providing resources to help all students succeed. And finally, I think transparency and communication are very important. So I'm hoping our new member will be an excellent communicator and will work to make the decisions of the board very transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Now we will, it looks like we have a young man right over here. Would you like to lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now I will draw the names out of the hat or the cup. So the first speaker will be Autumn Ellenson. The second speaker will be Crystal Grosvenor. The third speaker will be Stacy Coble. The fourth speaker will be Darren Ellers. The fifth speaker will be Robert Fagan. Sixth will be Don Wisman. And seventh will be Chancey Alexander. So all but Autumn Ellenson are going to go with Ron to a classroom, and you'll be called in one by one. Autumn, I assume you're Autumn then. You step right up, but I have to wait till they get out to start answering, to asking. Each of the board members will ask you a question. We'll just go right down the line and keep repeating. And so, they're out. Looks like they are. I will ask you the first question, and those questions are also on a sheet right there in front of you. You have 8 minutes, and there are 6 questions. So what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay, as we come back this school year, I think there's a lot of challenges. First, with regard to COVID, I think that enrollment is going to be a big challenge. We've had a lot of students that are opting for homeschool programs, but don't feel comfortable sending their children back to school yet. So I think that we need to start working on the enrollment challenges that we face. I also think that we need to work with the county on implementing procedures that make everybody feel safe, that make the teachers feel like they can be in the classroom with the students, that are also making the community members feel good about sending their kids to school, because I think it's a very divisive issue. So I think we need to strike a balance between the people that want to send their kids back and the people that are fearful of doing that, so that we can make the most people happy, serve the most people in our community.
Next, what is your vision for public education in our community?
I love our district, and I think our district does three things really, really well. I love our science program, I love our arts, and I love our language immersion. And I know that I put my students in this district, my own children, because of the language immersion programs and how fantastic they are. But I know that our science program at the middle school is amazing, as well as the arts. I think that we should keep working on improving those programs, getting the reach out to the broader community, and just implement new things as our society changes. So I think public education in our community should really focus on those three aspects, all of our special programs, to really boost that enrollment.
Okay, number 3. Describe your view of roles of the school board and the superintendent. And it's a two-parter. And then what is the ideal relationship between these two roles?
I think the role of the school board is to set forth the operating procedures of the school district as a whole. I think the role of the superintendent is to manage that. So I think that those two, the board needs to be able to work cohesively with the superintendent so they all see issues as a team. I think the school board sets forth new policies. They not only set forth new policy, but they implement the policy. They make sure that those policies are being met. I think that they do certain administrative procedures like hiring and maybe even letting go of certain roles in the school, like the superintendent. I believe that they also handle appeals from the community, but really their sole procedure, their sole purpose is to make policies and make sure that they're implemented well. So I think the superintendent, in order for that person to implement those policies, needs to have a good working relationship and teamwork attitude with the board and vice versa. And I think that everybody on the board needs to listen to the superintendent about the challenges of implementing certain things, and then vice versa, the superintendent needs to be hear the board and work with what their vision is as well.
Thank you.
If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
Well, I think board members are stewards of the community. So I think that when we're out in the community and we're dealing with community members, we need to listen attentively, kindly, patiently. And then our role as a board member really isn't to manage day-to-day or manage things that are happening in the school. So our role would be more to point that person in the right direction of the person that the staff member that they need to talk to in order to get that fixed.
Thank you.
What particular strengths would you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to the healthy functioning of the governance team?
All right. I have over 20 years experience working in the public school system. I've had every single position almost that you can have up to a teacher. And so I have over 2 decades of experience working with students. So I've been in the classroom, I understand how that works, I understand different roles and how challenging certain things can be and how amazing certain things can be on the school campuses. For the last 6 years, I've been a teacher, and the last 3 years, so I also have some experience with business planning. I also am a writer, and I manage a social media page for author and a social media manager. And I think all of those things together would be really good for the board because I can help. I think one of our main issues is increasing enrollment and really getting the amazing district out there. And so I think that all of my strengths from understanding how the schools, actually work and operate on a day-to-day basis to all of the digital media side, I think that I would be a really good at that. wise, I'm gregarious. I love to talk with people. I think I would be a good person to be out in the community. I love talking to people and interacting with the community. I'm very organized. I have 3 children. I work full time, so I have to be organized. And I think that those would be really good strengths.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that makes you the best candidate for this position, or any points you want to clarify in any of your other questions?
I'm really nervous. I'm grateful to you guys that I'm just such a steward of the community. I'm a new resident of this set. I've been lived here a couple of years, but I chose this district because I think it's so amazing. And I have not regretted that decision. My oldest is in 4th grade, and I have loved it since day one. And the schools here are amazing. Every staff member I've ever come across. I'm a big my own children's school. I'm serving on the SFC committee. I'm also on the budget committee with a lot of you guys here, the budget advisory committee. I worked on the distance learning committee. And then I also have a background in fundraising. So I worked for 2 local 501c3s, and I have a lot of background knowledge in direct mail fundraising events. I work on RFP. Volunteer in my children's classroom. I run a parent team every year. I know that the art launch is one of the
Thank you very much, Autumn. You're welcome to stay and listen to all the other members. So, have a seat.
By the way, I'm getting texts that we can't.
I probably am giving my purses.
And let him test it.
Test, test, test. Can you hear?
Was it better before?
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, a lot of you online are having trouble hearing, so we think we may have corrected that. So we'll be waiting now for the next applicant to come in.
The audience cannot see this person. Yeah. As long as he can hear, it's fine. Just switch, let's just switch now.
We're working on some technical difficulties.
Does it show the,
Not yet.
Pull this one from the participant list, right, into the panelist. Yeah, I'm the first one on the participant list.
Okay, he's in.
okay.
Okay. Okay, Crystal. If you'd like to remove your mask so that you can be heard better, we could hear Autumn fine, but apparently they couldn't hear very well on home. On Zoom.
Thank you, Madam President. Go ahead and take it off.
Yeah, go ahead. I think step closer there. There you go. Can you hear? Uh-oh. Maybe kick it back a little bit.
There you go.
There we go.
That's it.
So just say a little something so we can make sure we can hear you.
Check, mic 1, 2. Does that work? Check, 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 check.
If that's okay? You can hear? Okay. Okay, we have 6 questions for you, and we will ask them one at a time. And the next, Bonnie will ask you the first question.
What do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID pandemic?
I think it's important to look back at what our opportunities and challenges have always been. So I'll start with that. I think that we have an amazing school district. I think we have the best school district in all of San Diego County. We have a really enticing language program that brings in people from all over the county. I believe that the science and arts program is really good as well. And the Home Flex program that's now becoming the Flex School program, I think are all really fantastic opportunities that attract a lot of people and make people want to stay. I believe that challenges are the budget. I believe that enrollment, I mean, all districts are dealing with enrollment loss right now. That's not unique to us. Now with COVID, the new opportunities are that our students have really shown a lot of resilience. They've pivoted just like the teachers and staff and everyone has pivoted. They have this brand new skill set that they no longer have to learn when they're 19 in college. They've learned it now. That's amazing. We need to continue that and encourage that and somehow merge that into the continuation of everything that we've been doing. The challenges are, I think we're gonna have to dig. We know what a lot of the surface challenges are. I think it's the ones that we don't see and we don't hear about are the ones that we need to pay extra attention to and check on the students that we haven't been seeing, check on the families that we haven't been hearing from, check on the teachers and make sure that they're still happy, that this is still a great place to work. It's a great place to collaborate and work with their teams because they've lost a lot of that. And I don't think it would do us any service to continue without digging and looking for those other challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is your vision for public education in our community?
My vision for public education in Lakeside would be a place where all students love learning so much that they graduate and continue their love of learning, that they have broad perspectives, that they are enriched with all different kinds of arts and sciences and working with their hands. I mean, the variety, they've seen a whole slew of things before they reach age 18 and after graduation. A place where teachers want to work, that this is the coveted place that district that they want to work at. and families want to continue moving here.
Thank you.
Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these two roles?
The superintendent to me is the calm guiding North Star of, of all of the employees within the school district. And also a member of the school board or a liaison with the school board, and a strong voice representation of those employees, and a source of their morale and their inner leadership. The school board, to me, is the governing body that ensures that we are in compliance of everything that we should be, and that works really hard to make the decisions necessary to help make us be the district that we are ultimately trying to be.
Okay, so if a parent or principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
The first step for me is always to listen with open ears and a heart of empathy. Really be that, that shoulder, that ear, whatever it is that person is asking for. It's to apologize for that experience that they had, and it's to do your best, do my best to solve the problem. Thank them for their feedback, and I think a really good school board member would know who to go to make that to share that feedback, be it Todd Owens or the principal, and just as an ally, share the feedback, not as a, hey, there's something wrong. Like, if someone comes to you with a problem, that's a service. That helps us. When we know what our problems are and we know what our constituents are unhappy about, that's actually a service to us, and it helps us make better decisions and strengthen the relationships within our community.
My computer's doing something crazy right now, saying welcome to Apple Music. Sorry. Okay, what particular strengths would you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to healthy functioning of a governance team?
I think bringing a broader perspective to the board is helpful. I actually started my Lakeside Union School District experience as a parent here at Lemon Crest. We've also been to Eucalyptus Hills for TK, Homeflex, Riverview, and Winter Gardens. I am very service oriented, and I enjoy working with the team. Some other ways that I've shared my experience was the question. I'm sorry, can you touch on the question one more time?
Sure. What particular strengths would you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to a healthy functioning governance team?
Okay. So strength would be creativity, thinking outside of the box. I'll give you an example. At the Riverview PTSA, we were trying to think of ways to think outside the box. I asked the principal, what do you think would make your school fantastic, our school fantastic? And she replied, I wish we had more money for cultural experiences, enrichment, music, things like that. So in partnering with a school, music school, we were able to provide music nights for family engagement. Well, we took it a step further. They actually had an opportunity that spur of the moment. It was a free program in class, free music instruction to all of the students at the school from K through 4th. So that's one of the ways that thinking outside of the box, building relationships, not just within our community, but outside of our community, can help give our students that ultimate experience that we're looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to tell her she could stay? Okay. Fogging up.
For the people at home, I know that you didn't hear the first speaker very well, but we heard her. She was right in front of us, so we heard her very well. Even if, sorry that you were not able to. Hi, Stacy. Yeah, Stacy Coble now. Stacy, we have a total of 8 minutes for all the questions, and there are 6 questions, which are on the board, but they might have gotten, can you see them there? But we had to change the computer system we're using. So time starts. Oops, okay, yeah, you don't have to wear your mask for this. Time starts now. I'm not sure whose turn it is to ask.
It's mine.
Larry.
What do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID pandemic?
I see opportunities in, I don't know which the challenges may be,
Thank you.
Okay.
test. Good.
Question number 2 is me? All right. What is your vision for public education in our community?
I believe in public education. It's amazing that we are able to have public free education for all of our students, and the vision is to just continue to produce the very best kids, students, well-rounded, ready for everything that the future has to offer, whether that is working for someone or going to college, starting your own business, going into a family business. I think the vision here in public education is make that child well-rounded, feel safe, and have the confidence to get out in the community and anywhere they go and know they are the best and they are ready and they're confident by what they've learned here in Lakeside.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these two roles?
The role of the school board is to create policies and rules that the community, the parents, the students, the administrators, the teachers, it is their role to listen to everyone and get all of the information that they can to provide a very, very good education for our students. I think the role between the school board and the superintendent is to work closely together, have a strong communication between each other. It's a hard position, I feel, in both, whether you're the superintendent who is managing all the people, and then the board who listens to the community about what they want. So having a good relationship, a strong, honest relationship, just can take you, just anywhere. And I really feel that working together is very, very important. And I know that this board has a very good relationship, knows how to do that. And I hope that I can be a part of that.
Okay, if a parent or principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a school board member in resolving that issue?
Well, I think that you need to listen to the parent or principal that it has the issue. Listen, ask a lot of questions, make sure that you understand what their concern is, and then you have to make that person feel comfortable and safe in being able to tell you so that you can go on and tell either the director of maintenance or, of course, the superintendent should always be aware of the problems that are going on within the community, and the teacher should also know. But I think that the role is to really listen and investigate or hand it off to the right people to investigate, which could be the director of maintenance, the superintendent. When you're the principal, you probably have to go a little higher and talk to one of the superintendents, whether it's the superintendent of assistant of ed services, the superintendent of business, who is the supervisor of the maintenance director. But I think with listening is very, very important, and communicating with everyone that's involved. But first and foremost, I think everyone needs to know it's okay to come forward. You may not always be able to get what they need for them, but as long as they're heard and you're addressing the issues in the best way possible, I think the relationship would be great. And
What particular strengths would you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to the healthy functioning of the governance team?
well, I worked for this school district for 30 years in different capacities. I started here as a school secretary, and then I moved into the HR department. And at the time I moved in, it was the head of HR was the assistant, and then it went to manager and then to director. So I held all three. So I know just about every employee in this district up until the last 10 months by name. I know the functions on the back end of school. As a parent, I'm also a grandparent here. My husband went to school here, his siblings, my kids, and now my grandchildren. It looks really easy as a parent how things flow in a school district. But what I can bring is I also know the back half, the back end, where everyone makes it so easy. A teacher makes it look so easy, the way things run. I can bring 30 years of history to the district, to the board. I can work with the board to work with our associations. I think most people know that in public schools, there is a union for our classified employees and our certificated employees. I feel when our employees are happy, we get the very best. Is that mine? That was 8 minutes?
That was 8 minutes.
Oh, shoot. I wanted a 2-minute warning. Okay. So that's that? Oh, jeez. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Okay, next up we have Darren Ellers. Hi, Darren. We'll ask you a series of 6 questions, which are also on the podium there, and you have 8 minutes. So, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I'd say number one, safety. Safety for the community, the students and the staff. I also believe we're going to have a lot of budget challenges. With all these exigent circumstances and the years of already being in deficit spending, with deficits looming probably for the next several years, we're going to have to definitely navigate through that. We're also going to need to find a way to get kids caught up in their academics and maintain the excellence which this district is already meeting. I hope we can exceed that. Thank you, I appreciate it. Wasn't sure what the rules were. That's much better.
Okay. What is your vision for public education in our community?
Well, we were talking about Lakeside. I would like to promote Lakeside in our district. I think Lakeside in the past has been a good model for innovation. For instance, the immersions programs that you brought into the district, that at one time we were actually bringing children from outside the district into our district. I think if we can find new ways to be ahead of the curve, maker space projects, project-based learning, more collaboration between the different schools. I know at Grossmont high schools, they've been working a lot more at bringing in outside organizations or even swapping expertises between schools with the different programs they have. Like, for instance, you might have a school that has a host and restaurant program where they do restaurant management and things like that. They have a very advanced culinary program. So they'll come over and they'll be running like a buffet for another event for a school's construction program who's showcasing what they're doing. And then you also have different organizations like LCAP will bring the floral program to come over to set up decorations. It's a way to have different specialty schools but still mix them together. My other vision would be, really doing what we do well. I think Lakeside's known for producing well-rounded children with well-rounded educational opportunities. And I think we should continue with that. Sometimes, you know, it's good to be specialized. Sometimes it's good to make sure that you're producing this well-rounded child who then will go on to become a well-rounded member of our community, and it only serves the community as a whole. You know, to get those well-rounded people, they're going to be a part of our society that will someday be employers or employed by other members in our community.
All right, number 3, it's a 2-part question. It says, describe your view of roles of the school board and the superintendent, and then what is the ideal relationship between these 2 roles?
Well, I guess probably oversimplified, the school board, an oversight committee. I think the relationship with the superintendent should be the superintendent's at the head of the cabinet. You know, he's managing the schools as the executive. He is going to be hearing from his people. Hopefully everybody in the district has good relationships. So you're getting two-way communication. You're getting information from, you know, all the way down to the maintenance staff, yard duties, teachers. That should be percolating up. He should have a good relationship with the principals. You know, all your district office people. And there should be a good relationship, I believe, between the superintendent and the school board. I think you should have, you know, openness, transparency. You know, and I think it should be everybody working together, you know, for the betterment of the child, of our communities, you know, our staff, students, you know, and creating, you know, the passion that I think this district has had, the family feeling, I think that many people in this district have. A lot of us are homegrown in this district. We make our, you know, our homes and lives here, and really the superintendent, if you really get down to it, might be the person in our community that touches the most people in our entire community. We don't have a mayor per se, you know, we don't, I mean, if we did, how much contact would that person have with somebody? But, you know, speaking with Ron, the groundskeeper here, he's on 3rd generation students that are coming through, right? So the superintendent in turn has had a hand in every single one of the students' lives that have come through the school and then remain in our community. And then, you know, the board function is to also, you know, hold the cabinet to task and ask questions and, you know, make hard decisions and be a part of that team that's working together.
If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
Well, personally, I'm not in the classroom. I do hope if I were to be given this opportunity, I think I'd be familiar with the campuses as much as possible. But as a board member, I think it's my job to listen to anybody in the community, whether it be a parent, another board member, taxpayer, employees. I believe in the more information you get, the better decisions you can make, the more impact you can make. I would never discourage anybody from contacting me. I believe that's a very important thing. However, I am also not HR directly. I would probably tell that parent, I don't know, not knowing the situation, have you tried speaking with the teacher directly? I think these days people tend to go to the top, want to talk to the manager, but sometimes things can be better resolved between the 2 people that are involved in the situation. If a parent has a problem with the teacher, maybe they don't feel comfortable contacting that teacher, but I would probably encourage them to try that first. If it was a serious issue between the teacher and the parent, I would probably say, well, have you tried contacting the principal? Because the principal is, you know, in charge of that site and should know his staff and a little bit of everything that's going on. Yeah, but you know, taking information, finding out information for people. If the parent doesn't know who to contact about something, you know, for instance, maintenance, find out who that person needs to contact and help them get that information. Try to facilitate a meeting between the people that can actually hopefully resolve or at least answer the question of what that parent's looking for.
Thank you.
What particular strengths would you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to the healthy functioning of the government's team?
Well, you know, I live in Florida, right? I'm not always comfortable saying, but I feel like I have a pretty diverse life experience.
Your time's up. Sorry.
Sorry.
That's all right.
All right.
Okay, and you can sit and listen to the rest of the participants. Okay. We have Robert Fagan next.
Good evening. All righty. Well, I would say that the first thing that I see is okay to go ahead and take off. Thanks. Okay. Say the first thing I would say is assessing the students to see where they are today as to where they were before, and making sure that they are able to meet the guidelines for grade standards going forward. I think that is probably going to be the biggest task going forward, to make sure that they're ready to continue on to the next grade or the next sets of grades, depending on how long it takes them to catch up. So I think the learning loss is probably one of the biggest challenges as it relates to the COVID pandemic, or as we emerge from the COVID pandemic. I would say one of the other things, and I would say it's probably a large thing to keep in mind, is finances and budgeting. For me, I consider it a major thing, because without it, we can't do, as a school district, we can't do the things that we need to do to ensure the success of the students. Sad to say, but money is the primary factor. It's the factor that allows us to hire the best educators. It's the factor that allows us to provide the students with the best tools, whether it's iPads or crayons. They need those things to learn, and without money, we can't get it. And also, I would say, basically anything that, infrastructure, all of those things rely on money to give the students a great place to learn, a safe place to learn, and a great learning environment. And I would say those are probably the two largest ones off the top of my head there.
What is your vision for public education in our community?
Well, I see, let me probably preface that by saying I consider myself and my kids a success of the Lakeside Union School District. To just backstop a little bit and say, we were fortunate to have both of our children attend Lakeview Elementary School, and then from there go to Lakeside Middle School. And they have now, one's graduated already, and it's a success, got their certificate for Project Lead the Way, followed that all the way through high school. So I see, my vision is to continue on the path that we're on, providing great tools for students to succeed. My daughter graduates on Monday, and she is a salutatorian at her school and is graduating the top 2%. So while it's my success and my kids' success, it's your success as well, because they grew up and graduated from this school district. So I don't come here with a hey, the school district's broken, we have to change everything. No, I come here thinking that at best, we want to expand upon the things that you're currently doing and continue those things that are a success. This is a great school district, and I'm proud that my kids graduated from it.
Great. I have question number 3. It's a 2-part question. Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. And then what is the ideal relationship between these 2 roles?
Well, I see the board as the governing body of the district. And the role as it relates to the superintendent is to hire a good superintendent. The job of the superintendent is to run the day-to-day running and workings of the school district within the guidelines and the priorities that are set forth by the board. The board sets the priorities and the direction and the policies for the district. The superintendent's job is to deal with the day-to-day issues that arise and carry those things out. If the board doesn't like what the superintendent's doing, get another superintendent. But it's your job as a board to make sure to hire the right person and then give them the opportunity to succeed or fail. But it's your job as a board to pick the person and then let them do their job as a superintendent.
If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
Sure. I had an opportunity to review the Lakeside Union School District website, and it has some of those things, for example, board governing policies and those types of things. And the way I understand it, and I agree with it, is the first thing you do is refer them back to the person who has authority over those particular issues and give them the opportunity to resolve the problem at that level. And then from there, it would work its way up and eventually potentially to the superintendent. And obviously, as a member of the school board, you have to be involved. You can't just wash your hands of it, but you be involved by connecting with those people who are involved, let them handle it. And then if you get a call, follow up, or you want to follow up on it, that's your job to communicate with members of the public in that fashion, but let the people whose job it is deal with it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what particular strengths would you bring to the board and how would you apply those strengths to the healthy functioning of the government's team?
Well, I have a background in law, which makes me quite inquisitive and provides me, to quote a very kind of cheesy movie, I have a particular skill set. That is, I have the ability to work with groups, find common ground as a lawyer, try to find solutions to problems. I also have the ability to teach. I taught on a number of levels. I've taught at community colleges. I've taught at private universities. I teach nationally to national organizations on everything from whether it's diversity or budget or leadership. I've taught on all of those types of things. I've also, I work for a very large public agency, and on a daily basis, I deal with issues, everything from budgeting issues to helping set priorities for our organization, to human relations, labor relations, employee discipline, Public Records Act requests. My unit in particular, and the folks that work for me, we are a catch-all, if you will, and you'd be amazed at the types of issues that come forward. My role, if you will, is to, and my goal is to, find a need and fill it. And I think I have a skill set that would allow me to bring a common sense understanding of the issues facing education and our community to bear on being a member of the district.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that make you the best candidate for this position, or any points you want to clarify on a previous answer?
Sure. I'm not going to go into depth because the instruction was that you have our applications, and so I'm just going to let that speak for itself. I will say that I do have a love of education in a number of ways. Some of you may recognize my last name. My wife was, and I guess would say still is, an educator, but I've supported her side by side with her when she was in the classroom. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that's pretty quick. Okay, then I would just say thank you for your time. Thanks.
Hi, Don, come on up.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
That way I don't sound so muffled.
Yep. Hi, Don, we have 6 questions for you, and you have 8 minutes. So the first question is, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, because COVID was so unexpected, what we had to do was you had to go to this hybrid model of learning, or you had to have kids trying to learn digitally from home. And so the challenges, I think, are how do we transition back to in-person learning? And for those students that seem to thrive under digital learning, how do we offer that to them? So what opportunities can you give? What models of education are you going to still have that would meet the needs of all kids? And I know being a former principal, you kind of have to compete for kids. And so you want your schools to be attractive to kids and meet their needs. And so with COVID, parents need to feel that the schools are safe, that their kids are going to be there, so have their social, emotional needs, which kind of are not being met via the digital, but also the academic needs being met.
I'm sorry. What is your vision for public education in our community?
Well, as being a longtime resident of the community, I think public education should serve all kids. The community in the 30, well, 40, well, 35 plus years that I've been here has gotten more diverse. We need to meet their needs. We need to offer things that are exciting and engaging for kids. Meeting such things as, like I was a principal of the science magnet, and so doing hands-on, meaningful thing, engaging thing, engineering, technology integration, that we're doing things that were meeting their academic needs, like all the Common Core stuff, but also meeting NGSS and the arts. I was married to an art teacher in the district. So the arts are very important at my school. I was a STEAM magnet, so we had arts, science, math, integration. So the vision for public education is our community making it like a gems that people want their kids to come to, because you kind of have to compete for kids. So it has to be a place where parents feel that their kids are going to be safe learning. I mean, it's going to prepare them for the future, so they could be successful in the future.
Great, thank you. Describe your, so it's a 2-part question. Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent, and then what is the ideal relationship between these 2 roles?
Okay, well, the school board kind of sets the tone. You're the voice of the community. You're the representatives of the community. So you have the pulse on what the parents and community members feel that schools should be doing for kids. And your leadership, you decide who's going to lead the school as the superintendent, the educational leader of the school. So there has to be a great working relationship between both the school board and the superintendent. The ideal relationship is where it's collaborative, where you're considered like a team, that you get to work together to try to to set the vision for the school, follow the vision, keep your focus, and devote your budgets to meeting the needs of the school that you think will best meet the needs of the community.
Thank you. If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
Well, kind of, you would go to the educational leader. You would probably go to the superintendent and mention that this parent contacted you to see if there was any kind of history going on between the parent and the school district, or if there was a safety issue. You'd want to maybe, then the superintendent would probably call Todd or something with some kind of maintenance kind of issue. If it was something about a teacher, you know, with the unions and being a principal and knowing with teachers, you have to kind of go through steps or a process. And you have to be very careful because you have to be, it's confidential, it's very confidential about complaints being made about a teacher or something. But you definitely investigate and see what's going on. And you do have a process where if there was to try to resolve the issue, you can meet, well, I think my role as principal, but now as a board member, you wouldn't meet, but you probably encourage the principal to try to meet with the parent or have the superintendent tell them to encourage them to meet to resolve it at that level. And then maybe, yeah, as a board member, you might have to make a decision on whether to retain a teacher or discharge them if they've done something very inappropriate.
What particular strengths do you bring to the board, and how would you apply those strengths to the healthy functioning of the governance team?
Well, I have a huge history with this district. I really owe a lot of my career to learning how to teach in this district. I started in 1980 at TDS and as a science teacher, and then it gave me opportunities that I never thought I'd have. I got recruited from here to go to San Diego Unified as work in their science office on an NSF grant. I came back as a vice principal at TDS. I'm a poster child of Don't Burn Your Bridges. And I know how kids learn and how to teach. I mentioned in my application, I won several teaching awards, including the 91 Teacher of the Year for the Lakeside School District. I think engaging kids in hands-on, minds-on, meaningful learning is so key. Kids need to feel engaged and that you care about them. I would tell my student teachers, if kids care about you, they'll go through fire for you. And I tell teachers too, when I evaluated them, kids will never remember your best worksheet. They'll always remember other stuff that you do with them. I started the Invention Convention Science Olympiad here, which TDS kids won first in the state when I was a teacher. I think that's why I got Teacher of the Year, not because of what I was doing in the classrooms, but what we did out of the classroom. I've written grants for the district, supported teachers doing professional development, lesson studies at several of the schools here, even when I wasn't in the district, so I still stayed attached to the district. I got all the middle school teachers going to science professional development when I was the chair of TS science department. So my strengths are that I'm a team builder, I build relationships. I think if you talk to anybody in the district that hasn't retired yet like me, they'll say hopefully nice things about me and some of the stuff that I did to improve the education in the district. And that's it. Oh, I missed number 6. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi, Chancey, you could come right up to the, sure, set your stuff down. And you can take your mask off to talk. You can take your mask off. And we have 6 questions for you, and you have 8 minutes. So the first question is, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district, particularly as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic?
So the opportunities I do see in the district are the flexibility, the option of distance learning. I think that's a great option for parents to have with or without the pandemic. So that's the biggest opportunity that I see. And also the challenges. I think the challenges I see are every child I feel learns differently. So not all things match for one child. Like I have 2 children at the district. One's in 1st grade, one's in 5th grade. One is very literary. She reads and writes, and she can work on her own. She's very self-sufficient. And then I have my older daughter where it's very hands-on. So the challenge with her was getting that hands-on during this pandemic. So it really affected her socially, emotionally, and academically. She went from being a really good student to kind of falling behind. So whereas my youngest daughter kind of teetered right in the middle. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is that individual learning for every kid is unique. So if we go an all or nothing approach, I think that's very difficult. But the opportunities for kids that do excel on those things or want a more flexible lifestyle, it's another option, being online. I think that's great, because my kids both actually, before the pandemic, they were in the entertainment business. And we found it increasingly difficult to balance a normal childhood with also wanting them to have the community where we live in also be part of our lives, and not just kind of segregate them and homeschool them. They also wanted to see the kids that they may be playing softball with or playing soccer with. So I think this adds a new positive layer to flexibility, not just home flex, but also online.
Thank you. What is your vision for public education in our community?
My vision would be more parent-teacher communication. I think that I look as a child, like I said, I have 2 children that are very opposite in personalities. So I treat them as individuals, but I need to be cohesive with the teacher also. So the parent-teacher trust is so important. And I think if there's parent-teacher trust, then the children also kind of encompass with that. It makes it easier for me to communicate to my child what the expectations are. I know there's some new guidelines that are happening. I remember that from the school site committee that I'm on at Riverview, that's going to be starting to introduce things in a holistic way where we teach kids why we're doing certain things, which really helps with certain spectrum situations. With my oldest daughter especially, she'll, well, why do I need to learn this? Or why do I need? So I think having that parent-teacher trust and a whole holistic approach to a child's education, that's my vision. Because without us, without the teacher helping the child cohesively to their unique needs, that is what's going to help them move forward.
Thank you. Question number 3 is a 2-part question. It says, describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent, and then what is the ideal relationship between these 2 roles?
So my views on the roles of the school board would be to support the community and what they feel they want to see, especially with a board situation when you're voted in. This is a unique situation, but most of the time you're voted in by certain constituents that also have the same values as you. So that being a voice for why I'm here is to be a voice for active parents in Lakeside. I feel like that's would be a role of somebody in the board, not just doing what's good for my family and me, but also for the community at whole. And also, I think the superintendent's kind of that same relationship, except for we kind of guide each other on how to manage situations. So being a government employee, I understand that there's, lots of personnel things that you deal with also, and that's where you would cohesively work together to make compromises. So I hope so my ideal relationship, of course, would be a positive one, a working relationship, one where both views are respected and then a compromise is met. Not just one side or the other, but ultimately we come together, because there's always going to be difference of opinion. But valuing that opinion, but actually making a decision, that I feel is important.
If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a board member in resolving that issue?
So I'm not an educator, of course, but I do understand that there are policies and procedures for all aspects of government agencies. So first, I would have to find out what policy and procedures are in place for certain situations like this. Of course, I would validate their opinion. That's the one thing that I'm very good at. I've been in customer service for 20 years, and in an enforcement situation and in a public safety or community helper situation. So I've worked for the city of San Diego for 20 years. So I've been out in the field and I've been on the phone on the desk. So I've dealt with emergency calls, I've dealt with in-person, very difficult situations. So being able to manage that with a calm and with validation and with we will do our best to figure this out, and communication. For me, that's paramount. Making sure that the person, whether it's the principal or the parent, gets a response. I don't like when I don't get a response, so I give that same courtesy to the people that come to me for a question. So that's how I would approach it. Validate appointments, make sure I communicate, and look at policy and procedure and make sure I'm following them. Oh, I think it's over.
So now we need to tally and come up with a first, second, and third place. And then we'll compare our votes. I do want to thank everybody for coming and thank everyone for speaking. Thank you for putting yourself out there because I know how nervous it can make you because I applied for the board too, as did Andrew. So we know how nerve wracking it is. And this is like the hard part because we're going to talk about you right in front of you.
I want to second that. You know, I know most of you, or I've heard of most of you, and I've talked to some of you. One of you was even my vice principal at TDS. So
Did you ever get sent to me?
I wasn't sent to you, and I'm no offense, but I remember the suit from then. So, but
Same suit, Don?
so I love it. Inspiring to me. So anyway, I just want to thank you all for putting yourselves out there. I know it's hard.
Yeah, me too. I just wanted to comment on the same thing. All of you, it's really nerve-wracking to get up. I didn't have to do this process, but I did when I ran for office, did right here in this room, speak to a huge group of people when I first ran for this seat 14 or 13 years ago. So I know how nerve-wracking it is. And I just want to say you guys all did a great job. So I just wanted to say that.
I'll second that. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and just, you know, it was nice to hear what everybody had to say and thank you.
So everybody let me know when you have, sorry, there's like bugs up here. I think there's bugs in the whole room, but because I'm not the only one who's doing this one. So tell me when you're ready with your first, second, and third choice picks. Okay, so I'll go first and we'll go down the line with our first, second, and third choices. My first choice is Don Wisman, second is Robert Fagan, and third is Stacy Coble.
So my first is Darren Ellers. My second is Don Wisman, and my third is Robert Fagan.
My first is John Whitman, my second is Robert Fagan, and my third is
My first is Darren Ellers, my second is Chauncey, and my third is Robert Fagan.
Hang on and we'll figure where we go from here. Okay, so we had two Dons in first place, and we had two Darrens in first place. We had Rob as a second, a third, a second, and so those. At this point, it would seem that Don and Darren, and well, John, Darren, and Rob were the top three as far as numbers are concerned. So now we just need to talk it out. Andrew, want to start?
Sure. I guess if you want me to justify my rankings, I will do that, and then we'll open up to everything else.
Okay.
So I think for me, God, I hate these things. So I think for me, the key on Darren was I liked his priorities for the district. I think that highlighting safety, budget, academics is important. I think talking about in his vision, promoting different opportunities such as career education, partnering with other districts such as Grossmont. LCAP has great programs. So I think that that's important. I think he really focused in on understanding the process of constituent concerns. That's critical. So that was why he was my first. And I can keep going if you want.
Sure.
Okay. I think for Don, he certainly has experience. He knows our community, our district. He was a principal here and vice principal here. So he understands teaching and the dynamics between leadership in that. I think that's important. So I think those are key components. And then Robert, I think, brought a very interesting flair. He talked about the budget challenges that we are going to face. It's a reality. He talked about the importance of learning loss that we've experienced, or that looking how to assess it and figure out our solutions. He also focused in on the governing board and how it sets policy and the role between that and the superintendent very well. And he also, in his work, I think has a very dynamic background of understanding how a district can operate, a budget can operate in a government entity. So I think I think that's some of my reasons for that.
Okay.
My turn?
Sure.
So I picked Don first. I personally worked side by side with Don. I was probably spent almost every day on TDS's campus. I was part of the PTA. We had a very strong PTA at that time. And I just loved the fact that children were drawn to him, and he was able to encourage children to be their best. And he was a vice principal, so the vice principal is usually the one who does the mean stuff, at a school. but he was never, he always had a smile on his face, and he just brought a lot of programs, and he really wants kids to succeed. And I think me and him have a lot in common. I think that's why I picked him. I've spent a lot of time, you know, I've been in Lakeside for 57 years, my whole life. And I've gone to all Lakeside schools, Riverview, Winter Gardens. And so for me, I want somebody who sits on the board who still has that vision of the child first, and the great programs and drawing people here to our campus because of low enrollment. So that's why I picked John. I don't know Robert, my second choice, but I was impressed with all of his answers. I felt like he had a sense of what a school board member is all about and has to do. And it sounds like he really loves Lakeside. So it's another positive for me. And then with Crystal, a parent, spent a lot of time on campus. I have strong ties to PTA. I sat on a lot of boards before I ran for school board. And I ran for school board, not because I was trying to fix anything, just because I wanted to give back to my community and make a difference. So I just felt like those three people had those qualities that I look for in a school board member and somebody from Lakeside.
Sarah?
I don't know anyone, being very new to this. So I really took a lot of this based on reading applications ahead of time, really listening to what everybody had to say. So for me, Darren Ellers was my top pick because I liked his thoughts about, you know, the safety of our kids, especially the budget challenges right now, which is going to be huge for us, getting kids caught up. I really liked the way he wants to listen to people, knew how to direct people. From his application too, I liked the background that he has in dealing with the PERT teams, dealing as a school resource officer. Like, those are things that really speak to me. He's got kids in the district, so as a parent, I really appreciate having another parent on the board. For Chauncey, it's very similar. I liked her vision of more parent and teacher communication in dealing with things in a holistic way. Those are things that I feel extremely strongly about, and I would love to have somebody else who expresses those same thoughts. I also enjoyed her response of, you know, wanting to actually look into policies before speaking of them. You know, that's important. For Rob Fagan, the background that he brings is just really important. I think, you know, knowing the law and the background and how to effectively communicate that is something that I think we could really use on our board. And I think he really understood how the board runs between the board and the superintendent and all of those things.
Okay, and Don was my first choice. I liked the opportunities to meet the needs of all kids, all students, keep them safe. The social emotional, we need to obviously be cognizant of that as well. Academic, I liked that Don was a vice principal here, a teacher here, and then a vice principal here. I like he spoke about diversity, which is something that's is important, hands-on, his NGSS experience in the arts. His answers to the other questions were what I would have expected. Robert Fagan, I thought, had some great answers to the questions that we asked. I think that his experiences and knowledge would be useful, you know, for our board. I think that you know, he understood and understands the issues that we have facing us with budget, et cetera. And Stacy, worked, in the district for quite a while. She also understands a lot of the issues that from the inside, being on the inside at one time. So at this point, we're gonna revote, but just a first and a second. No third, just a first and a second, revoting. So
May I clarify for the board?
Yep.
So at this point, the board is not voting. The board is deliberating. These tallies here are really just to help your deliberations. And when we get to the end of your deliberations, then we'll look for you'll look for a motion,
ranking.
and then a vote. So just
Right.
to clarify that.
So let's go with the ranking of your top. Put your top two, and then those are the names that we will combine with to move on to the next stage. So my top two are still Don and Robert.
My top two, Darren and Dawn.
My top two are Don and Robert.
And go ahead, there.
Yeah, my top two are Darren and Chauncey.
Okay. Well, since Chauncey only got one vote, she would be eliminated. I think the rest are.
Ask if the board is comfortable.
Okay. Is the board comfortable with moving Chauncey? She at this point, she only has one second place vote. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so we're at Don and Rob, Darren and Don and Rob, and Darren. So we'll need to come together here. So we need to have, because at this point we have two firsts for Don and two firsts for Darren. And Rob is still in there as well.
It's all right. I told my kids I wasn't coming home early tonight.
Madam
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
would you say what the ranks are again?
Yes, it was Don and Rob, Darren and Don, Don and Rob, and Darren.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. One of the things that we lost when on our board when Rhonda resigned was the educator, and that I know that we all, I believe, depended on Rhonda for her expertise in education, and I think Don brings that same type of leadership, that same type of information. He has the experience to help us with the education type of decisions we make.
So while I agree with that, because I think we all value that, as I think about it, Rhonda's sort of not replaceable if you think about it. And, there are a lot more qualities that she brought, at least in my view, to the board than just the fact that she was an educator. And so when I look at it, I don't want us to be forcing ourselves into saying that we have to replace those qualities. I think, we hire professional staff who are educators to help us. I think when you look at the history of our district, I think that there have been many years where our board has not had an educator and has set awesome foundations for our kids, myself included. And so I think that we need to, I don't know if we want to force ourselves to look at just that, because I also think it's a great opportunity for us to maybe get into the trenches a little bit and see and talk to our teachers and hear from our educators on the ground. We can get into the trenches and hear more. So I don't know, that's just some of it. You know, I like I say, I think that argument is valid for sure, because I think we've all appreciated it. But as I think about it, I just don't want us to pigeonhole ourselves into saying we have to replace qualities that were in a former board member. So that's sort of my thoughts, at least at the moment.
Well, I certainly didn't think I was pigeonholing myself.
No, I mean, that may not be the right word, but I certainly think that I just don't want us to limit our opportunity by saying that we're putting guardrails on what we're looking at in the sense of saying, oh, educator and all the rest. I get it. We're a public education board. But as I say, our board was not always led by educators, and they set a great foundation.
Bonnie, looked like you were going to say something.
Well, for me, I've been on this board for a little bit, few elections. We've appointed, I think with this appointment, I think this will be my third one that we've appointed, that we've had to appoint. We've had people step down and leave or resign. I ran for school board because I really love Lakeside. I was asked, or people told me that, I want you to run, and, I think you'd be great. I think when I was, you don't have a vision of what you're really getting yourself into. And for me, I always want to put people in that put the child first, the student first, because it's really hard. If you come into this job with an agenda, it's very difficult. I've watched it happen with previous board members when they're coming in. I only came in because I just wanted to be part of something that was really great, and I love Lakeside. And I know it sounds corny, and I know that I just want someone, and it's really easy for me to pick Don because I worked with him closely and on this campus, and I just seen that children loved him, and he was a great teacher and a great partner on campus of working with all different types of personalities. And, Holly, when you're on PTA, you have a mix of parents, and you're going to get all kinds of different personalities that come into PTA, and the goal is to make the school a better place, to make the campus a better place. And we all know that parents that spend more time on their campus, their children learn better. So with all that said, I think that I'm just trying to give everyone a sense of who I am as a school board member, and we don't normally get this chance. And so my decision is for Don is because I don't want to say it's personal. It's just that I have worked with him, and I know that he loves children, and he's always going to put the student, first. And that's my choice. And then again, with Robert, he gave great questions. I don't know him. I've never worked with him, but he had wonderful answers to the questions. And I felt like he was just wanted to be part of something and give back to the community. So I don't know. I don't know, everyone out there in Zoom land. Hopefully that wasn't too corny.
I think we all want to be here. We're all here, and we all ran or were appointed because we do. We love Lakeside. We love the schools. We love the school district. We want it to continue to grow and be a better place for our kids, our grandkids, and all of the community. Rhonda was so unique in what she offered outside of education. And I think a lot of people in the community that voted for her and voted for her again did so not because she was a principal or she was, you know, an educator, but just for her community involvement and her resolve for the district. And that's the type of person that I'm looking for. Not anything to do with anything else, but who do I see that is going to be there for the kids, that's going to work well with all of us, that's going to really step up and be articulate and really be there. And that, to me, you know, Darren's top of that for me. You know, he really spoke to me as a person.
Yep, we're not going anywhere. Right out to you guys.
We might ask if there's anybody willing to take anybody out of consideration at this point. Narrow down to 2.
All right, so at this point, let's just, we have Darren, Robert, and Don as the 3 that are still our choices. And if we, is there any consensus on who we want to remove? How's this? Remove them one at a time, I guess that's Andy's suggestion. So Darren, Robert, and Don, is there anyone you're not going to vote, not going to put in first place? I think so. I think this last conversation, basically it was Don and Darren were in first.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
Okay. So now we've got Don and Darren at two each.
Do we get, Andy, do you have any input on this, on any council?
Not in terms of the
No, not the members, I'm talking
right.
about process.
Right. No, I mean, in terms of process, the board would just need to understand that if a selection is not made this evening, you still have an opportunity to revisit this issue next Tuesday when the board has a scheduled meeting. You would not be able to discuss the issue in between now and then. It has to be discussed in a public meeting. We are also coming up on the legal deadline, so end of the month. If a decision is not made by the end of the month, Lisa, you can tell me the exact date on that, June 30th. If the decision is not made by June 30th, then it has to go to election to the voters. I'm not sure if that's the question you were asking.
That's the question I asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a 5-minute break and get up and walk. We've been sitting here for a long time.
Okay.
And we'll come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'll remind the board, and before you take your break.
We can't go talk to each other.
Correct.
No, I'm just
Correct. Very good.
I'm not moving.
Thank you.
I just want to walk around.
I'm not moving.
Very appropriate.
I am going to use the restroom.
Okay, we will come back to order. Dr. Johnson would like to have a point of clarification. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to clarify for the board that I misspoke a moment ago. So the legal deadline to make this decision is June 26th. If a decision is not made by June 26th, then it goes to election.
Those at home can't see that the two left in are both sitting right next to each other. They're just they moved chairs a little bit, so they're sitting right next to each other.
It's reminiscent, isn't it?
So,
Okay.
what would anybody like to say? Because this is the one place we can say it.
Yes, it is. So, I really hate these things so much. I can't lean back and say anything. I can move in. So, when I'm thinking about this, I just want everybody to know where my mind is at, so that you can understand why my mind is why I'm so passionate about this. When I was listening to the interviews, and so before this process, I wanted to think about, I reflected on my experience behind the podium. And I thought about the question that I wanted to be asked by the board at that time. And one of those questions was, what is your vision for public education in our community? That is what I wanted asked of me at that time. And the reason that I put Darren a little bit above Don was because Darren, to me, articulated one of the greatest needs that our community has at this moment. And that is providing opportunities for our students to be exposed to careers so that they can learn more about the workforce. There are businesses in Lakeside that are just looking for some of our students to come and intern with them. And we can work on creating a pipeline like we did with our immersion program. And so I think that to me is so important. And I think it is really a need that it'll help the enrollment. We can talk about that to communities that aren't our own. It's unique, and we can work on that development. So that's sort of that's some of my additional thoughts.
And I think you're right. I mean, I think for me, Don's answer that we want to create a gym, Lakeside needs to be a gym so that we can increase enrollment. That's what happened when we did Spanish immersion and the language program. I was taught by a wise superintendent that we have to look at all the opportunities and that all children learn differently. And you have to be a district that offers many different levels of learning so that you can bring people to your district and increase enrollment, because we all know, sitting up here, enrollment, and without enrollment, there are no funds, and without the funds, we're not able to do the great things that we do in our district. And we have to be creative and always thinking outside the box to create a gym here and to bring students to our district.
Things that Dawn said is, prepare for the future. And, we talk all the time about preparing the students for future jobs that don't even exist right now. I like the excitement in his voice when he was talking about everything, he has that fighting, let's do it type of personality. I think that that's what spoke to me.
Um, you know, everything that each of you said could be said for both people. I mean, that's the thing. They have a very similar thought, vision-wise. You know, Darren still speaks to me more. I love the collaboration between schools. I run an innovation program in my company, and you know, that's how we grow and that's how we get better, is by constantly looking for new ways to bring students in. The project-based learning, which we're starting here at Lemoncrest, you know, just really expanding what we do now and making it so much better. And I really, his vision just really spoke to me with that. You know, I also like that, you know, Darren has the background with, if you're looking for something with education, which I'm not necessarily, but as a school resource officer, you know, he's been on campus, seeing what's going on with the kids, seeing the things that they're going through right now. We're going to see a lot more as education changes, because it's not ever going to look like it did pre-2020. It's going to be evolving and it's going to be moving forward as we try and offer some of those things that worked for us in distance learning and through the pandemic, and you know, expanding on those things and the trauma that we're going to start seeing as kids are coming back of what they've gone through. And I think that's something that he understands, and it's something that I value, that he can bring and educate us on and help us to make those things less of a burden on our district, because they are things that we're going to struggle with, because we're going to see more of that, because this has been a very traumatizing time for all of our students and families and community through this past, you know, year and a half.
Well, okay. So here's a thought. Shoot me down or whatever. But so when people like us who we're clearly locked here, and we need a mediator, and the mediator is the voters. Thoughts? I mean, we're here. So we're filling a seat of someone who was elected 2 times, and you know, put students first every time. And I think we have 2 candidates who would put students first every time. And the message that, I mean, we had applications, we received them. We've heard from people who were interested. We've heard from people who had the passion to serve. We made a decision of a body that we represent thousands of people in Lakeside. And maybe we should consider a mediator.
not sure I'd call the people a mediator, but they are, it would be their decision, they'd be the decision makers, but
I just think that when people like us who, if we're not able, based on the qualities of the folks that we've seen tonight and we're discussing that are very similar, if we're not able to come together on it, then maybe it is something that the voters and the community of Lakeside, who these folks will represent or who we represent, have an option to weigh in and say that what they want to see. I'm asking if it's something we should consider. I'm not sure, but I think we should consider it. If we're not gonna be able to, and as leaders, if we're just not able to agree on some of this, maybe we should consider it. I'm just throwing it for something to consider.
So I would remind the board that you previously did take action to make an appointment for this. That was a previous board action. So I would probably need to check with legal counsel on how you revisit that from a technical sense.
Well, okay. I would just think that if we're split, then there's no other legal, and we don't meet the deadline comes, right?
Well, if the deadline comes, then yeah, then you're there.
So
Right.
if we're not,
Correct.
if we don't move and it's not going to happen, then it can only be solved one way.
Right. And another option I might offer to the board, Madam President, is to table this item until the 8th next week. If the board felt like a couple more days to sleep on it would help. If it didn't, then that wouldn't help, but that's another option to consider.
No.
We've already taken public comment. Thank you.
do we have a second?
Well, I guess second to discuss.
Okay. So,
But so I think ultimately, my view is if we table it, this is just my thoughts. If we table it but none of us think that in a day or two that our mind is going to change, then we have this same situation on Tuesday. So, I mean, if we don't think, now we may say our mind's going to change. And if that's the case, then woohoo, let's move and table. But if we don't, then we have this whole scenario play out again on Tuesday. So those are some thoughts. But so the motion is seconded for discussion. Any other discussion?
I don't know that I have any other discussion. Larry, you got anything else?
Not really. I think looking at us and the conversations that we're having so far, I think we're all pretty set on who we want and who we think will serve the board best. And I don't know if, Tuesday night is necessarily going to change things too much. We've all had the same opportunity to read all the applications, to listen to everybody and have that gut reaction that we've all had. And I think that's, I don't know if we'll see too much change, if any. And that's it. That concerns me.
Which part of it concerns you? That we aren't going to come to
that we postpone. We're still in the same boat, and all we've done is drawn things out.
May I offer?
Please.
So as secretary to the board, my role is not to influence, of course, but to provide information. So if the board were to schedule this for the 8th, you would have the opportunity for public comment again, which would give the public some input. It wouldn't be the vote that you're thinking about, but that just to put that out there is one thing that would be different from now to then.
No, that's true.
That's a true point. It's a true point.
That's what happens when you sit on boards. You don't all agree. We're all different, unique people. And
Yep.
we're not going to agree on everything. I've sat on this board for a long time. And I haven't agreed with a lot of it. A normal part of sitting on the board. A normal part of what you sign up for.
That's true.
It's not an easy job. It's
No.
a hard job sitting on the board and, you know, what you sign up for.
Yep.
No, it's absolutely true because we respect each other's opinions, but we
Yep.
each have our own opinions on it.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
Yep. Well, if we have public comment, I mean, that way folks who wanted to comment can comment.
And anybody else.
Anybody else?
The voter, any voter who would like to come forward and comment next Tuesday would be able to do so.
Okay.
So then should we take a vote? We've had a motion made and a second.
And a second.
Now would be the time to vote. So
Okay, call the vote, Madam Chair.
so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, I think that's all.
That is all.
So we will have a meeting then next Tuesday. We already had one scheduled. So we will meet at 5.
I'll work with you to find a appropriate time, and we'll post the agenda.
Okay. Should we meet in person then at that time? So that, or should we have it on, we were previously going to be on Zoom, but I think we can meet in person as far as I'm concerned. We can all meet in person.
I would prefer in person. Yes.
I would prefer in person as well. Can I ask about the structure of that meeting for a moment? Okay. I know everybody's probably not happy anyway right now, but here's a thought. And maybe we have a second round for our top 2 folks. What do you think? This is just an idea. It is not something that I'm saying we have to do.
Okay,
But
Andy says we can do that. So
is that possible?
So we could come up with a few extra questions and bring them back at 5 o'clock on Tuesday? Okay?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Okay. Well, having no more business.
So I will, before you two
Before we
go,
go?
I will verify that with legal counsel. I'll put together an agenda. I'll share it with you, Madam President, and then we'll post that and be ready for Tuesday then.
Well, and thank you. I just want to thank all of you guys. I know, but I think this is so important that if we take a little time, maybe it'll help. So,
Okay.
thank you.
And I appreciate everyone's hard work on
Yep.
this.
Yep.
So-
And thanks to all those who applied. We appreciate it.
Yes, very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So then we will adjourn for now, and next Tuesday, we will have opportunity for public comment, as we always do, and we will have extra questions for the 2 of you.
Sounds good.
Adjourned.